Hey, hello everyone, this is French Vinyl Addict and I'm really glad to be able once again to publish on this channel a vinyl haul kind of video, showing you guys what I received, bought, purchased online, etc, etc. And yeah, I would like to thank you once again, lots of you guys, lots of people from the vinyl community, you were so kind. I received lots of email messages, asking if everything's fine. Everything's fine, life's good. Everything's good. Really, I have no problem with anything. The thing is, I don't have the same amount of time in my hands, to create content, to do video, host live stream as I used to earlier this year. But life's going on. I will try to publish a video every once, and then when I will when I will be able to carve out some times. Maybe the live stream, but not. It will not be the same rhythm but everything's cool, everything's great, and I won't be shutting down the channel. Life's going on, and as I said, I continuing buying records. I made some great discoveries in the past 2 months, and as I said, I bought some records, and this is all I'm going to talk about today. So without further ado, since I do have lots of records, and maybe I will do maybe 2 parts, maybe you will have a part 1, part 2, something, since I really do have lots of stuff. Starting with the first one, this is which is a comp, a double LP compilation released in 2017 by a British label called Strut, S-T-R-U-T Records, Strut Records. Never heard. Yeah, this is a comp, great comp, and it started with a discussion we had on the French live stream. Stun Rock Confusion and myself, we do host every Sunday morning, and we were talking about the greatest music, the electric came a little bit later, but the electric Maloya. Everything happened. Why we're talking about that? Since this is, as I said, a British label, which is really fun when you think about that. Since they were talking about Maloya. What is Maloya? Okay, this is this is a trend. This is a genre that emerged on this small island called La Réunion, which is a remote French territorium. West Indies, we cannot really say former colony because it's okay. I won't talk about too much about that, but still, it's part of France. It's in the it's not far from Madagascar island in the Indian Ocean. So a really interesting blend of culture happened there. With African slavery, we have to mention that. Workers from India, people from Europe, they will settle there. It creates something like really interesting. And in the 70s, all these people, had something like really in common. They grew up listening to lots of classic rock, blues stuff. They were, for lots of these people, they were like musicians playing in a ballroom, in a weekend for weddings, and discovered all of a sudden, electric instruments like electric guitar. And wanted to do something like really typical, not covering, the Western music. So had access to some poetry, some text written in French or in Creole, so the local dialect, and they create something like really interesting. And this label, as I said, is a compilation. So lots of stuff released on not on an album, but lots of 7-inch singles, released back then, and I'm not sure if those were available in France, in the mainland France. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know about, but lots of those local artists from this island, and this is all you can find, with some history, some backgrounds about the history of the island. La Réunion, how it began, the typical instruments, the kayambe instruments, which is like really typical, all what they brought to the table, creating something like really really typical that we can relate. So a great comp, really so to say. Birth of Electric Mallow, yeah, those songs were released between 75 and 86. 86 is a great year for the French VC. You know what I'm talking about. The next one is a part of a VCLT, a very cool package I received from a good friend of mine. We talk daily behind the scene. We talk daily, and this is really nice. You know, during my hiatus, I was able, you know, to maintain a sort of connection, a link. You know, not only on their video, you know, comment section, but we now have this various way, you know, to communicate with a messenger kind of app, you know, WhatsApp, for instance, which is really pleasant. Okay, and yeah, I received Fred, my good friend, Fred Big Star 1000. He sent me a very cool package once again. And yeah, to give a little bit of a background, why I'm going to the first record I'm going to show you why I received it, or why I was like keen to discover that. You may remember, if you watch this channel, he already had sent me like last year something, 6 months ago. It's the 4th VCLT I received from Fred. Really nice, really. It's amazing how great is that? How great this guy is. The second VCLT I had it contained a record from Adam Halliwell, which is an Australian guitar player, and it was pretty much more like a side project. I didn't pick up this record. I do have in the Kallax unit on the other room. I will try to put a picture, and this was like a side project, you know, fourth world, a la John Hassel, if you want. But it got really interest, so I made some research, and I was like on Google, and it turned out this guy has a band called Me Life, really like very important in the Australian jazz scene. So yeah, I was trying to find more information about this band, and stumbled upon their second album, which I gave a fair hearing to online. And yeah, here we go, here we are. He sent me a copy of this one, which is really interesting, which is Me Life, which is automatic. So there's the band's, Adam Halliwell's band, second album. Really interesting, as I said, since this is with lots of jazz influence, but it is clear, you know, that those people brought something interesting to the table. On side one, lots of French touch, you know, influence, you know, the band Air, for instance. On side two, it's pretty interesting. On side two, I can spot some Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here era, you know, all this Moog, this synthesizer that we're using back in the days. Daft Punk as well, a little bit on the last track, Automatic. But yeah, it's still interesting. So the one that got me really curious about the band Automatic. So but like very smooth, very feel good album. So I'm really glad. Thank you, Fred, for sending me this one, Me Life, Automatic, great jazz band. He also sent me their first album, their debut album, which is this one. This is Phase, and a little bit less funky, you know, because yeah, what I forgot to mention, you know, the French touch stuff, you know, it's more like this rhythm section, the funky bass line, you know, and the vocal parts. You don't find this kind of stuff on this one. This is more like a pop stuff, a little bit more ambient, more quiet. Still interesting, as I said, a little bit more psych prog, you know, but still really interesting. Pretty hard to put in one single box, you know. I listened to both records earlier this morning, and every time I put this record on a turntable, I spot other elements. So really hard to describe, but both have something in common, you know, the sensitivity, the love maybe for jazz. So really interesting. I can only recommend Me Life. Still talking about jazz record, he sent me something I've never heard of before, because I don't watch enough his channel. No, he had mentioned this band a couple of times. I guess this is a Gotte. This is another Australian band. And you see lots of famous name, Jean-Luc Ponty, for instance, Alice Coltrane, Arvo Part, you know, all these great names. And But this is jazz with a synthesizer. So it has this this spacey jazz vibe kind of stuff. And when I really close my eyes when I listen to this record, I had the feeling this could have been used to describe, you know, when you walk through an exhibition, you have several scenes, you know, and it can really describe what was happening, you know. If you have some movement, some stuff like, you know, with all something in common, you know, the touch the band has, you know, even though they were like reinterpreting, you know, replaying, you know, those famous part. But it's really interesting. Got that second album. The next one is another Australian record. You know, this is truly what the essence of VCLT I received from Fred. So lots of VCLT. So Fred likes to send some local stuff. You know, those guys. So Fred and Ben Rankins. Cheers, Ben. You guys have a really great a city with lots of record stores and a great scene, musical scene, as far as I can see. And yeah, this is the aim, I think, when Fred sends some gift, some present, you know, to make you discover, you know, what happens in the land down under. So the other one is no exception. This is another project reissue from an obscure band from the 70s, Dance of the Sphere, Rainbow Generator. And what an interesting project. So this is this is an absolutely beautiful release on 78. This is sort of crossover with some tribal music. You have DJ Redo and all the great influence from the 70s. Really all the great Canterbury scene stuff, a la prog, a la gong, with some Pink Floyd as well. It says on the hype sticker, 70s psych folk with spoken words, synth and drum machine. So it's really nice. I'm really glad. And I think they were back in the days a sort of experimental electronic band from Melbourne in Melbourne, Australia. So with this leaflet, so really cool. This is really the stuff I'm into, trying to find more about, you know, rock with Canterbury, you know, this jazz influence. The next one is another great stuff I received from Fred in this package. So what a great package! This is a pure jazz stuff from the 70s, 75 I think, originally released. This one, so Judy Bailey Quartet. Judy Bailey was this lady. Originally from New Zealand, and it's really interesting because, you know, I'm trying to get more of this Mahavishnu Orchestra, Herbie Hancock, you know, funky stuff from the jazz, funky stuff from the 70s, and this is truly what I can hear in this project. So a feel-good album, not like boring jazz or jazz, you know, a la Oscar Peterson, you know, nothing that. So if you like really, I think Alex, Beer and Vinyl, mon frère, you will definitely like maybe this kind of stuff, Australian jazz or Australian New Zealand jazz, funky, you know. So yeah, worth a detour. The next one is something I think he had on his collection. This is Blood, Sweat and Tears debut album, and also interesting. I had in mind their second one. Didn't know much about this one, to be honest with you guys. I had a Spinning Wheel, you know, song in mind, which is on their second one, I think. And you know, not Police, Chicago, but yeah, brings a little bit something different to the table. You know, Al Cooper, you know, brings something really interesting. You know, it has this crazy brass section, rhythm and blues, which I really like right now. Listen to lots of bands with this soulful stuff, you know, crazy. You know, Al Cooper, you know, you can relate to the Electric Flag, for instance, album, which will vanish from the second one, I guess. So it's still interesting to yeah, to rediscover their debut album. And speaking about crazy stuff, soulful brass section, he also sent me this album from Julie Driscoll, Brian Auger, which is a perfect match, since yeah, you know, we really like Street Noise, for instance. This is a compilation of greatest, the best of greatest hits. You find some of the greatest tracks that appear on their debut, which is called Open, I think, and yeah, the famous Street Noise relate. Also, I can also relate to, you know, this album, you know, Affinity, you know, this with the famous cover, that lady with this umbrella, you know, which was like a student project, I think, or she was a student, you know, with her soulful voice, you know, with secondal chord, you know, what a great Brian Auger, you know. You don't have to introduce this guy to any keyboard player, piano player, whatever. Really glad. So thank you very much, Fred. What a great VCLT once again. On to the next. This is another VCLT. Yeah, I'm really lucky. I don't even have to buy to go online. So I received great stuff from my VC friend. The next one are coming from France. Yeah, from my other great friend, Ben. If you are French speaking, you may know his channel. This is a Vinyle Mood, a very interesting channel. He started, I think, 3 years ago, something. And it's really an interesting project, since he was starting the channel at the time. He was starting collecting vinyl, so it's pretty much a documentary. It goes along his journey, you know, very interesting. And looks like he's trying to enhance his knowledge, his territory, yeah, as we all do, you know. You know, and this is the good thing with live streams, you know, because I don't have only people like Prog Nerd on my channel. And on the French VC live stream, Stunty and myself, whenever I have time, but we host like every Sunday morning. We have people from all different backgrounds, you know. So it helps, or it gives some other perspective, you know. We have exposed to something different that our old material or the stuff we are into. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, Ben is trying to enhance his knowledge, discover something, building up his collection as we all do. And he sent me an interesting album from a French band. Those are young people. I think this album released last year or something. This is pretty much a new scene. Tagomago, that's the name of the band. Traversée Sauvage, that's the name of the album. Those are young people, as I said, from Brittany, so from West France, my hometown. And yeah, as you can imagine, just by the name, yeah, you got it. So these are you have all this krautrock influence. Even Pink Floyd, I would say, you know, but more, not Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, more the 68, you know, UFO Club era, Psych, you know, but they play, you know, without compromising, you know. It's really interesting prog, as we all love. So a very good discovery, Tagomago, Traversée Sauvage. He also sent me another album, which is really stuff I'm really into. So perfect match. An obscure stuff from Bolivia from the 70s, and this is really what I like. Since, you know, if you watch my channel, I often talk about those obscure bands we can talk about Los Jaivas from Chile, Tarkus from Peru. All these bands, they were like exposed to the Western music, the hard rock, the blues, but trying to not to copy, not to do some cover, but adding something personal, something like they had in their DNA. And this is pretty much what you can find on this album. It's obvious, you know, Uriah Heep, not Pink Floyd, Uriah Heep and Deep Purple influence. You can hear it from miles away, you can recognize, but bring something really interesting, you like really South American, so to the table. So a great album. Yeah, I can recommend if you are this kind of stuff. Maybe Alex, you guys, you will love it. So Once again, thank you, Ben. You made my day, and Fred as well. Moving on with something, I bought here and there. So comp. These are compilations. I'm not even sure when they were released, but in the past month, when I was like visiting record stores over here in Montreal, I was like, hey, what those stuff? They were on the wall in the crate of several of my stores over here. So this is they made 2 volumes. This is a volume 1 and volume 2 of those. Not sure, Trésor National, the label, but not even sure. Those are, as you can see, those are compilation of late 70s, early 80s, post-punk, cold wave, synth pop, whatever, from the Montreal scene. So lots of obscure band, lots of great stuff. And if you are French, you guys out there French speaking, I think this is the equivalent of the Des Jeunes Gens Modernes. I will try to put a picture, the comp that was released about French local scene back then, and which is a perfect transition, since this is maybe the connection we can establish. French-speaking part, Montreal. It's interesting to say that those bands had so much of an influence from the English-speaking part of the world. What was happening in London or in New York, or with the Ramones, or mainly in England. But they also had an eye what was happening in France. So lots of those bands sound à la Jacquenot, Métal Urbain. This is why I can relate to this Des Jeunes Gens Modernes comp, because when you listen to this both comp, it's so much obvious that they were like influenced by not only by the English-speaking part of the world, but also the French-speaking part of the world. So those both comps are still available, I think, on Discogs or Bandcamp if you are into this kind of stuff. Maybe you, Mike, Vinyl Spiral, maybe something for you. I don't know. And finishing off with some records I bought at Toys R Us. Why Toys R Us? Because I think last month or something, not last month, March or April. Anyway, doesn't matter. I received a message from on the YouTube on the thread. I received a message, like, I think it was Olivier, the Vinyl Musical Lounge. He was saying, hey, there's something crazy happening over here. Toys R Us are closing over their store, and they have made a clearance sale on everything. And if you are not in Canada, you won't be aware of that. But last summer, they reintroduced not in all Toys R Us store, but in some of them, lots of them, they reintroduced a vinyl section. The HMV appeared once again. I think the guy who owns the Toys R Us in Canada, I think he bought bought the license, or I think the right to have the HMV. Anyway, this is how we were ending up having a crate of vinyl, manga book, CDs in Toys R Us. So it was like a really nice opportunity, to go there. So I went on the island of Montreal. So not on the same store Olivier went to, but another, to take advantage of that boutique clearance sales. They mainly have, it's like a mainstream stuff, all new records, but it was interesting with 40% off, to purchase some stuff. So these are the records I bought there at the Toys R Us store, which I didn't have. So only reissue new stuff anyway, starting with the classic, which I didn't have back then, and for some reason a band that I overlooked, and now I regret, because it's so much interesting. Everything is interesting. Lots of stuff are interesting with what talking about Talking Heads. Not only the fact that they were, this Afro-funk stuff, which is great, because on this album it has those elements. It has also, I think it was produced by Brian Eno. So produced by Brian Eno. So it has also this kind of ambient. So it's a perfect mix match of different aspects of their creativity or their genius, I would say. A band I'm really into right now. I'm trying to find some, even this side project. You know, David Byrne worked with lots of with the movies. Of course, their music were used in lots of movies. You know, Psycho Killer, Burning Down the House. You can hear the songs in dozens of movies around. But they were also writing, you know, soundtracks, composing. David Byrne, for instance, I think he worked with. There is this movie called the Catherine Will, I think. And of course, the Last Emperor with Ryuichi Sakamoto, for instance. So a band I had little idea of, you know, I was only aware about, you know, the great track, but overlooked. So I'm really glad I found this copy. Those are only classic, you know. Toys R Us is pretty much so. But I also found a copy of this one, and also triggered by after a discussion me and Fred we had, because you know the Stooges, you know, many years ago, you know, I was trying to listen to Raw Power, which wasn't something for me at the time, and he convinced me, and as it happened, I found a copy. Yeah, and what a great album it is! So much of an influence for the punk scene, you know. It was about to happen many years after, a couple of years after, you know. So it has all this craziness, you know, the post garage stuff. Shall I have to introduce this album? I'm not sure, but you know, I had no idea, you know, a couple of months earlier. So it's simply one of the records I keep on enjoying listening to, you know, with this, LA blues, you know, with this almost free jazz stuff. And as I say, you know, lots of massive source of inspiration for the punk scene. Only thinking about, you know, the Australian punk scene, you know, the TVI, which was covered by Radio Birdman on Radio Birdman's first album, and I think they it's one of the lyrics they sing Radio Birdman, I think on 1970, I think on side 2. You know, they're not even sure about that, but what an essential record from when we talk about early 70s stuff that paved the way for so much stuff. So Stooges, Funhouse. Next one is something a little bit way different. An artist from here, from Canada. I had no idea about. It's a guy, Greg, a fellow member from the French vinyl community. He once told me about her career, and as it happens, I found this copy. This is a live album from 2024. Pleasant one. She puts a lot of Celtic influence, and as I'm really into folk music for the time being, so it's something like really pleasant to be aware that such stuff exists. But I won't it didn't trigger the envy, you know, to dive really deeper into her career. I know she was like pretty big in the 90s. I was told, though I found, this is my perception, it's like really like calibrated, you know, to be like target maybe for a mainstream audience, you know. It didn't have this same craziness, you know, when we talk about folk music, you know, when we talk about stuff like Still I Span, just to name those example that pops in my head. It doesn't have the same craziness. So for those reasons, I won't be like buying all the stuff she has. But it's a pleasant. It's not a bad album, but it's not like something like really to me. And finishing off with another classic from classics, which I didn't have. So I'm really glad I could find a copy of this one. This is an island, and it's really weird, you know, when I was like entering in Discogs, those copies I bought like 2 months ago at Toys R Us, you know, I was like, hey, it's pretty weird. Those are like, looks like Rhino reissue, but like 7 or 8 years old. So maybe they bought some dead stock. So just for the record. So this is it's still an island, because I think on the new one there is this island Universal, I think, but who cares? Nick Drake, folk baroque album. I think it was all he was still a student by the time he recorded his album, didn't was success. You know the story. Same St. John made recently a video or reposted something that he had made a video about his artist. So much of an influence, so much of the sadness, the way, you know, it's simply it's way different from the rest of the island catalog folk by the time, you know, when we talk about, you know, Dr. Strangely, Fair Pork Religion, Still I Span, Still I Span wasn't an island. All those folk band, you know, it's so much different. You know, he was really on his own, but yeah, really happy. Now I have this copy which I bought, as I said, at Toys R Us. So yeah, this is it for yeah, part 1. I will be showing the other stuff in another video. I don't want this video to be too long. I think we already over the 30-minute mark. So hey, thanks for watching. Hope you like it. Thanks. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Bye bye.